Winzer. Bert was born in Emmaus, Pennsylvania in 1922. Drafted into the Army in 1942, he was assigned to the elite Joint Canadian-American 1st Special Service Force, a parachute commando unit that would become known as the Devil's Brigade. And today we're lucky to have a group of reenactors reenacting this unit with Bert here today. Now, Bert fought in the Aleutian Islands Campaign at Kiska and Segula, in Italy at Naples-Foggia, Anzio, and Rome-Arno, and in southern France in the Rhineland. Awarded a Purple Heart for a shrapnel wound incurred in 1944, Bertram is also the recipient of several campaign medals. Please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Bert Winzer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank God it didn't rain. I'm going to let my son come in here a little bit and give me a little bit of support, so to speak. And I do want to thank the Special Forces back here, our enactment group. I never met a better bunch of guys. You ask them for something and it's done.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have a very important question to ask. How many of you have opened the newspaper and saw your picture on the obituary page? Back in May of 15, this funeral director asked me in May if I would speak on Veterans Day at the funeral home. So sure, no problem. So 2 weeks before Veterans Day, I opened the newspaper and there's my picture inviting people to come and hear me speak. In the meantime, I had another speak at a nursing home. So they put flyers around in the nursing home to come and hear me speak. And then some of the people said, well, you must be bringing them back from the grave. Well, that didn't happen, thank God. I was born in Emmaus and was graduated from Emmaus. My parents owned a flower shop. My dad did a little bit of landscaping. So at an early age I was out in the fields pulling weeds or planting or whatever. Bareback. Got so sunburned that my sisters would fight to see who could get the biggest piece of skin off my back.
Yeah.
1931, well, I had a sister, 2 sisters, 2 brothers. In 1931, we were on our way to Sunday school. My brother was 13. I was 9. All of a sudden, he just dropped over. So I bent down, I said, George, I said, what's the matter? He says, I can't see. And he was gone. My sisters were following, and they said, what's going on? I said, well, George is dead. Oh, no, that can't be. But that was what it was. So I was kind of subjected to death at an early age. Spent a lot of time working in a garage. December 10th, 42, I got that Uncle Sam, I Want You. On the 23rd, or 24th I should say, of December 42, I got on a train at Indian Town Gap, and went to Camp Maxey, Texas, where I had my basic training. While there, they'd go around and send flyers around to sign up for medics or armored division or engineers or whatever. So one day this flyer came around for commando. Well, about 90% of our company signed up because nobody ever seemed to leave the infantry. Well, they picked 6 of us. So we went to the hospital, had physical, dental, the whole bit. And in May of '43, we shipped to Fort Ethan Allen. But to go back, when the force was originated, it was in Helena, Montana. There they had ski training, mountain training, 30-mile hikes with rocks, 50-pounder rocks on their back. And our commanding officer's motto was, if I can't do it, you don't have to. So he was out front with a rock packet, the same as all of them. Then when we joined in Ethan Allen, we got the same treatment except for the skiing. We never got in on the skiing. There is a movie about the group. It's called The Devil's Brigade. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. In June of '43, we were sent to the Aleutian Islands, where we made the invasion of Kiska. We had our rubber rafts in what they called the LSTs. We dropped the ramp. We dropped our rubber rafts in the Bering Sea and paddled ashore. Between the Bering Sea and Lake Kiska, there's a little strip of land, and we were all on that little strip at one time. The next day, we found that had the Japanese not left, had they been there, we would not be here today. They had the little strip of land mined. We paddled ashore, beautiful moonlight night. We were like ducks on a pond. It was so quiet you could hear the paddles in the water. Fortunately, the Japanese had left. There was still warm food in some of the foxholes. We left the Aleutian Islands. Oh, it took, I gotta back up a little bit, sorry. We went to, from Fort Ethan on, we went to Camp Stoneman, California. There, we were there a couple days, and then we boarded one of Kaiser's Liberty ships to go to the Aleutians. I swear that Kaiser boat had a round bottom. The capsize degree was 38, and we were over to 36 any number of times. Took 14 days from San Francisco to the Aleutians. Now we'll leave the Aleutians and come back to the States. That was on a Navy ship, the USS Bell. That only took 7 days. Had a little bit of a leave, reported back to Fort Ethan Allen, and then to Newport News, Virginia. Newport News, we got on a troop ship It was actually a cruise ship that was transformed to a troop ship. It was actually the Empress of Japan, but they renamed it the Empress of Scotland. This is what it looks like on a troop ship. You're in there like a bunch of sardines. Took us 9 days, unescorted, from Newport News to Casablanca. Casablanca, we boarded what they call 40 or 8s. That's a railroad car that can accommodate 40 people or 8 horses. From Casablanca to Oran by those trains. Oran, we got on some Navy ships and shipped to Naples, Italy. I was making a speech at Emmaus Historical Society, and the next morning I read the report. The reporter had us going from Oran to Naples, Italy by train. That's a little difficult to do. From Naples, we started our little taking of some hills in Italy, and then we got the job to take Foggia. That had a 3,000-foot cliff in the back of it on the one side. It took the British and the Americans 2,500 men, either wounded, lost, or killed. We took it in 6 hours. If you ever seen the movie The Devil's Brigade, this is very true to life. It's about 95% true. Our commanding officer, Colonel Fredericks, was on the set when it was made, so he didn't allow much Hollywood get into it. If any of you were fortunate enough to see it, there was a bar fight in that, and the Canadians would have been discharged had they been in a fight. So at the bar, the mountain men came in and started on the soldiers because they were kind of taking over the women. Well, the fight broke out and they switched uniforms, so everybody got in the fight. I was not part of that. I hadn't joined until May, and that was back in December. The colonel, or the commanding officer, Fredericks, docked everyone $1 a month from their pay to pay for the damage that they did in that bar. That's pretty rough, $1 a month. Let's see, we're at Mount Defensia. Our company was picked to be a supply group because we couldn't get people to supply us. And it took us close to 6 hours to go up by trail after the mountain was secured. the commanding officer sent down for supplies, and he ordered whiskey and condoms. We used the condoms to put over the rifle or the gun barrel so that it wouldn't get dirt or rain. From Infantry, we pulled back, had a couple days of rest, and then we went to Anzio. We were on Anzio 99 days with no way to take a shower or bath. We would take our shirt off and we'd scrape the collar with our combat knife. This is not the knife we carried, this is a replica. The knife we carried was sharp enough that we could shave. But when we were discharged, they confiscated the knives. From Anzio, after the 99 days there, in June of 44, while on Anzio, we would go on patrol. We'd go through their lines and we'd leave a little something like this. That German bit on the side translates to "the worst is yet to come." That is where we got the name, the Devil's Brigade. We found a German officer diary, and he had in this diary, they were here, we didn't see them, but we know they were here because they left their little whatever. We pushed out of Anzio, took a couple more little mountains and towns, and June 4th of 1944, we liberated Rome. And Rome is not listed on any calendar as being liberated. Normandy came on the 6th, 2 days later, and all the publicity evidently went to Normandy. So I've just recently composed a letter to my congressman and want to ask him why this liberation of Rome is not on the calendar. I don't know whether it'll do any good, but that's a try. Once liberating Rome, we pulled back, a couple days rest, and then we made the invasion of southern France. There's the Airborne Islands just off the coast, and reconnaissance showed that they had large cannons and pretty good artillery as a defense for the invasion. It turned out to be all mock-ups, but the Germans were there, and we cleared the islands, and then we went inland, and it was on the French-Italian border that I picked up my little piece of shrapnel. And by the way, 2 years ago I was here speaking, and I lost that little piece of shrapnel. So if anybody finds it, it's worth a meal. That picture at the top, that's about the size of the piece of shrapnel. they took it out. It went in my shoulder, and they took it out on my back. I was in the hospital 10 days, and then back on the line. We took a couple more little mountains, towns, and our group could no longer get volunteers. So those of us that were jumpers, and by the way, I forgot to tell you about that. My jump experience in Vermont was a platform about 9 feet in the air and a wall with a hole in it. So your commands were up to the platform, stand up, hook up, and go, and you just jumped into the sawdust or sand pits. We had just gotten into camp midnight on a Sunday, and Monday morning we were out doing a little bit of calisthenics and then up on the platform and blah blah blah. So Tuesday at around noon, we were going out the door of a plane. The first jump was real good, no problem. The second jump was what they called a cigarette roll. They just followed, didn't pop. So from the ground, they knew who was jumping in what spot. So they just said, Winzer, for your emergency. And you can hear them. No, just a normal voice. So I pulled my emergency, and needless to say, I beat everybody else down. Sorry for the mix-up, but when you get to be a couple years old, I kind of reflect and look back. So, our group was being disbanded, and those of us that were jumpers were sent to the 82nd Airborne and the 101st. I was fortunate, if you want to call it fortunate, enough to go to the Battle of the Bulge. While there, due to the fact that we were in so many different battles, my points added up rather fast, and I was designated to go home. Well, the officer in charge of that group wanted calisthenics and, you know, stay in shape. I wasn't used to that. So I ended up with my little bit of Pennsylvania Dutch as an interpreter. Well, I didn't know what I was looking at, but that was a good job. I'd get up whenever I wanted to get up, go to the mess hall, have breakfast. My day was my own until the company commander was from Texas, and he found out that there were some cavalry horses in the area. So he said, Winzer, go get 8 horses. Well, how I did it, I never know, but I came back with 8 horses. Well, being a horseman, we had to go for a ride. And these horses follow each other. So he started jumping hedgerows. And so you kind of know where I was. The horse was down and I was up, whatever. But it was a good job. then they moved me to another camp to prepare for going home. And there again, they wanted calisthenics, keep you in shape. I went to the cook, the mess sergeant, and I said, how do you guys work? Well, we have a day on and day off, day on, day off. I said, can you split the group and we'll make it 2 days off and one? So sure enough, matter of fact, the cook happened to be from Reading. Matter of fact, we split and I became a cook. So I was a cook until I was scheduled to board, ship in Le Havre, and come home in September of '45. There's a number of things that I've probably forgotten, but I can give you a little insight as to going to different schools and speaking. I spoke at a school down in Doylestown. I made 2 speeches before lunch, and the teacher said, are you ready? You don't want to go home? I said, oh, I had nothing to do with you. Well, I lined up 2 more classes. So during the time on. So I ended up with the speaking at 4 different classes, about 180 students. And it turned out that I had a companion for 27 years, and her great granddaughter was in one of the classes. About 2 weeks after I spoke there, I got a package in the mail. It had 2 t-shirts with the Lenape Middle School logo, a couple of pictures, and a sheet of paper with comments from the students. And the one that stands out the most is his presentation was really well done. I was really impressed. I learned a lot. But I was kind of surprised at how well he spoke at his old age. Anonymous. That is what makes this all worthwhile.
Yeah, that's right.
The teacher at that time said, I've never had kids so quiet. And they were great, asking questions. People consider me a hero. I'm just a guy next door. Any one of us here is a hero in their own right. They all have someone that they look up to and respect. In that regard, I say we're all heroes. So, any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you. Yes.
As a translator, did you interview any prisoners? And if so, did any
Interview any prisoners then?
And if so, did any?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And the fact that I can always say that I myself was never responsible for killing anyone, because while I was shooting, somebody else was shooting. So I kind of figured it's kind of a blessing that you're not 100%. It was quite a stint, and It's only by the grace of God that I'm here today to talk about it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Which did you find more difficult, the fighting in Italy or when you participated in the Battle of the Bulge?
Any fighting is difficult. You cannot put a label on one being worse than the other. It's a war, and you do what you have to do. And oftentimes you're doing it and not even realizing what's going on around you. But these guys behind me here, they're the ones that are keeping this thing going. And I thank them for everything they've been doing. And as I mentioned, there's never a nicer bunch of guys. So thank you.
Did you wear your uniform when you were in the school giving your lecture?
Oh yes, yes. What a uniform. That came about. It's not my original. I was speaking in Emmaus, and after the speech, a young fella came up to me. He said, "Do you have your uniform?" I said, "No, I gave it away." Well, he gave me his name and address, and I stopped by. He had a basement full of uniforms. So he had the jacket, he had the tie, the shirt, and the jump boots, which, by the way, I'm not wearing because I have a corn and it's, you know, kind of tough. And even then, they're hard to put on. So, yeah, a couple of weeks later, I was at the society, at the historical society, and the curator's wife said, "I got a pair of trousers. Do you want to try them on?" I tried them on, and all they needed was a little bit of shortening. So that's how I got my uniform.
The students were probably impressed with the uniform. The students were impressed with the uniform.
Oh, mostly women. And I have a habit of the name and a little bit of description is in the program, and they come around for the autograph. The women never get their program back until they get a kiss. At 94, you can get away with a little bit more. So, thank you all for listening, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
have a good day.